Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volumes of forgotten lore.
While I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door.
"'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. "Only this and nothing more."
Ah, distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember rocked its ghost upon the floor.
Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books a cease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore.
For the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore.
And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terror never felt before.
So that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood, repeating.
"'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This is it and nothing more."
Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore.
But the fact that I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I was scarce was sure I heard you."
Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, nothing more.
Deep into the darkness, hearing, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before.
But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore?"
"This," I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore! Merely this, and nothing more."
Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning. Soon again I heard tapping, somewhat louder than before.
"Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore."
Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more.
Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore.
Of the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but he was May of lord and lady, perched above my chamber door.
Perched upon a bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more.
Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore.
"Though thy crest be shorn and shaven thou," I said, "art sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven, wandering from thou nightly shore.
Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore."
Much I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear discord so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little reverence bore.
Cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed by seeing a bird above his chamber door.
Bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such name as Nevermore.
But the raven, sitting on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul, in that one word, he did outpour.
Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered. Other friends have flown before, on the morrow he will leave me as my hopes have flown before.
Then the bird said, "Nevermore."
Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken. "Doubtless," said I, "what it utters is its only stock and store. Aught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed faster, till his songs one burden borrow, till his dirges of his hope the melancholy burden burrow of nevermore."
But the raven, still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of a bird in bust and door.
Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore.
What this grim, ungainly, ghastly gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore.
This I said, engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing, to the fire whose fiery eyes now burnt into my bosom's core.
This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushioned velvet lining that the lamplight glowed o'er.
but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er, she shall press, nevermore.
Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose foot falls on the tufted floor.
Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite, respite, and nepenthe, from thy memories of Lenore.
Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore.
Prophet, I said, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter set, or whether tempteth toss thee here assured.
Desolate, yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted.
Tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore.
Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven and bends above us, by that God we both adore.
Tell this soul with sorrow laden, if, within the distant Aden, it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore.
Clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore.
Be that a word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked, upstarting.
Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore.
Leave no black plume as a token of that lie that soul has spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door.
Take thy beat from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore.
And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seemings of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore.